Hello, I'm Eric. Welcome back to another video with Dragonfly Awakening. Today I'd like to talk to you about finding perfection. When I was younger, I always believed that it was through one's behaviors, mannerisms, and actions that was the greatest way to reflect how refined a person was. I aimed and strived so hard to be as refined and as perfect as possible. I don't know if you could tell, but I never achieved that. I realized it doesn't exist. But the mind has its way to strive and shoot and aim toward that goal. There's nothing wrong with aiming toward the highest, best version of yourself, but there has to be some reality where the mind recognizes that there is a difference between what is realistic and what is shooting for the stars. During my life, as I was always striving toward perfection, and also I should probably underline here, this was in terms of diet, my actions, in control of my actions, in control of my thoughts, in control of my emotions, not letting them get the better of me. This sort of thing, the striving for this perfect human, I realized was very unrealistic. Okay. The biggest time in my life where I learned that we are not supposed to do that, we're supposed to be human, was when I moved from Southern California to rural Colorado. And I stayed with some people and had the opportunity to build a cabin there. And a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful experience because it was sort of off-grid. I had the chance to literally chop wood and carry water. My cabin was heated only by a wood-fired stove and cooled by the cool summer breeze of the Colorado Rocky Mountains. Dream. But it was a little bit of a challenge. I found that as I was building this with somebody else, you can't dig 2 inches without running into a boulder. I don't mean a rock, I mean a boulder. The land was difficult to cultivate, to prepare for some sort of foundation or leveling for this building. Getting the timber, the lumber, the wood, and all the supplies was a very difficult experience. Building the cabin and finishing it up. If you've ever been in Colorado, we have some pretty wild, pretty gnarly weather sometimes. It was very challenging. Looking into it a little deeper, I remember that it seemed like every tool I picked up was flawed somehow. Nothing went to plan. There were always deviations, delays. It was a very challenging time, especially with the hurry to beat the weather. I started in August and I think we finished it in March, which is almost like the end of the winter, but it was quite a challenge. I met my boundaries each day. I recall getting electrocuted because of someone else's mishap. It was One of those things, it was a great opportunity. It was a miracle. But every step along the way, there was something to push me back. Did someone say ego? Yeah, that's kind of it. But we have to be a little bit more open-minded about this, because we have reasonable expectations, reasonable in the human world, of how things should go, especially according to plan for large projects like this. We have a schedule we want to keep. We want to stay along with how things are unfolding. If you've ever had the opportunity where things have derailed or been delayed, you understand the frustration I'm talking about. Those are not necessarily accidents. Those are not preventable delays. Know that during the unfolding of our life, the divine sticks his hand in every now and then in order to slow things down, to point something out. Even if it is just to say, hey, I know you're working hard, but hey, breathe and enjoy this moment. Know that these moments are very important. Well, to continue with my story, the cabin was eventually finished. It was not perfect in the end. There were some things. But, you know, it was okay, because during that moment it transformed me. It transformed me a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here right now. Sorry, I'm hitting the microphone. Fast forward a little while, I visited a church of some friends who invited me to go. I went. And one very simple little phrase kind of caught my attention. And the phrase was, "Come as you are." Okay, we've heard this before. We have these ideas of how we want life to go, how we want it to unfold, how we want certain experiences to come along. We are all aiming and shooting for this perfection. But I have some good news for you. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. You can let go of your high expectations and just be as you are. I realized that life is supposed to be flawed. I found that life is perfectly imperfect, and still yet unconditionally loved and supported by the universe. Life is imperfect in just the right way for us to grow and to learn. Life is imperfect in just the perfect way for us to grow and learn. You've probably heard people say life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you. So again, life is supposed to be flawed. We signed up for this, remember. Obstacles are to be overcome. We are supposed to run into obstacles. Obstacles are not really meant to be removed. They're to be overcome, to be encountered, overcome, and transcended. This is how it is done. During my younger years, in striving to be perfect, I failed. But the struggle brought me to the breaking point, the learning point of self-understanding, of self-forgiveness. and self-compassion. We think about all the energy we spend in trying to make things and controlling and trying to make things happen the way we want them to. It's all futile. All that energy is just wasted energy. So when I learned that life was supposed to be flawed, I'd have a lot of acceptance of myself. Not just myself, but acceptance for others. Forgiveness and compassion for others. So I'd like to talk about a few different components here. Some major components that we run into during the course of our spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening is a lot like a falling house of cards, untangling many knots, a string of dominoes. So the insight into one false concept helps to untie another, and so on and so on. It is a chain reaction. This helps us to understand the nature of mind. If I had another chance to do it again, I would have had a lot more patience and acceptance for others, including myself. The first major component that I ran into were expectations. I led that expectations have led to my own disappointment. I'm sure you've heard the saying that expectations are disappointments waiting to happen. It's true. So I began visiting different experiences in my life regarding expectations. I realized I had projected so much of myself onto others, and I got mad at them for I got mad at them for being themselves. I got mad at them for not upholding my expectations. I played a role in my own disappointment. I grew here in that I had to allow more room for people to be themselves and shrink my egoic ideas to allow my personality to grow, to include others. See, there's a chain reaction in one realization and how one changes in different ways. There's an expansion and contraction, okay? Now, ultimately, this is going to yield a lesson here. A lesson that all three of these components we're going to talk about have in common, and that is letting go. That is letting go of control. And within control are those expectations. Okay? You're letting go of the control you were trying to put on life and its outcomes. I know it seems like if you don't assert some sort of control, it's just going to run wild and derail. That is not necessarily the case. You may not know that there is already divine control built in. So in surrendering your control, you are surrendering into the control that is already there. So I'm going to reiterate here that the first point here are expectations. It led me on a series of insights, of disappointments in my life where I realized that it was my expectation that led to my ultimate disappointment. Can you think of disappointments in your life where the disappointment rested on your expectation for someone to behave differently or in a certain way, even if it was common sense or reasonable? And they didn't. Yet you had an expectation, and life played out a different way, and you were disappointed. possibly even hurt or traumatized. This is how life unfolds. But having the understanding that life may turn out in any direction, just the openness that life is an expression of its own, and that your expectations really don't have a place in life unfolding, can really reprogram you in how to just be open and experience life. Life has its joys and its sorrows, and we are going to encounter them now and then. The next thing I'd like to talk about is trust. I had gained much more clarity in my life into expectations. But one problem stuck out, and that was trust. I was hurt, like all of us, by others not upholding the same standards and values as I did. I started to look into previous relationships and analyze them. I asked myself, how can I trust someone to behave in a certain way if I can't place expectations on them? Okay, remember we talked about the domino effect, or the house falling cards. One realization leads to the next, and in my experience, after realizing expectations were unreasonable, trust was also. So again, how can I trust someone to behave in a certain way if I can't place expectations on them? You can't. Okay, you cannot. You cannot trust others to behave in a certain way. It's placing an expectation on them. In this particular example, I was looking at marriage. I realized that marriage is not unconditional. It's not unconditional in any way, let alone unconditional love. It's far from it. And if it is unconditional, it's not marriage. Marriage has lots of conditions, from a legal standpoint of the contractual binding, insurance, financial aspects of the household, as well as the emotional availability for spouse, family. Everyone pulls their weight, including the ability to foresee and spot arising problems, address and cope with them to mitigate them. Conditions and expectations are placed on a marriage. If even one of these things fail, the home family unit structure is severely compromised. What you get from it is you can trust people until you can't, until they agree or disagree or decide that they don't uphold these values anymore. So ultimately, there isn't really a lot of emotional security and trust. This certainly does bring fear and vulnerability. Well, welcome to the human condition. It doesn't mean it's right. That's just life. You can only trust you, okay? That is a big thing. You must trust yourself that you have the ability to select and choose someone who can uphold the same set of virtues or values as yourself with the least amount of risk. This is why dating is important. Some people get together, hit it off, and then life happens. Dating is an interview position for a full-time permanent job. Ask your questions then, before life offers the opportunity to get into that subject. Marriage is a mutual agreement, but it's also a choice. Trust is a personal quality, not a projected one. This again leads to letting go of the control that we place on others and on life. So to recap on this section here, I'm showing you all of this to illustrate the chain of events of untangling knots, unfolding realizations, and to show how belief shapes how we perceive our expectations. After these examples, imagine seeing through all false beliefs, and how much more clarity would one have? The message is about seeing through illusions and having the clarity to see reality as it really is, outside of the cognitive effects that we put on it. The next component that came in my experience of untangling knots, or the domino effect, the house of the falling cards, were the lenses that our minds put in front of our eyes in how we perceive reality. Okay, you know a bit about this, and we've talked a bit about this in other lessons. Pure consciousness is born into the body, into this limited body. All their limitations are learned and programmed into us. We become more and more limited in how we grow and heal. I want to say big pharma, because we know healing happens in many different ways, not just through permanent medication. And throughout life, we gain layers of mental wounds, resistances, feelings, emotions, ideas. These are normal things even. Thoughts, constructs. There's no end to the shades we place in front of our eyes of pure perception or pure consciousness. Freedom begins with gaining recognition and dissolving these shades to restore pure seeing. I hope you recognize the importance of this little topic here. All of that you know yourself to be has impinged your sight, the purity of your consciousness. And a lot of these are illusions that need to be dissolved to restore your ability of pure seeing, of pure consciousness. Okay? Now, it may seem like a little bit of a side effort here, not to derail the lesson, but what came to mind here I found quite helpful in my experience in growing in this way. Now, that was the Four Noble Truths in the Buddhist path. So I'm going to go through each of those with a little description and then explain how this is helpful to you. The first noble truth is known as dukkha. This is the noble truth of suffering. It means this truth recognizes that life is inherently marked by dissatisfaction, pain, and suffering. It acknowledges the presence of dukkha, or suffering, in all aspects of our existence. The second noble truth is the origin of suffering, which is samudaya. Suffering arises from attachment, craving, and aversion. Specifically, it's rooted in the desire for things, people, or experiences that are impermanent and ultimately unsatisfying. The third noble truth is the cessation of suffering. Sanskrit word for that is nirodha. Suffering can be overcome and eradicated by eliminating its cause, which is craving and attachment. That includes control and expectations. The state of liberation is often referred to as nirvana. Okay. And the fourth noble truth is the path to cessation of suffering, which is magga, the Sanskrit term. The path to ending suffering is the Eightfold Path, a way of life that involves right understanding right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This path helps cultivate wisdom, morality, mindfulness, all of these leading to liberation. Now, we've talked about some of these things already. Holding expectations. Developing awareness is developing an awareness that is always aware, meaning every thought, word, and action that is expressed through your body and mind appears in your awareness, happens in your awareness. There is this place where your larger self is always aware, observing. You can be in a place where you're always aware of the words that are coming, the thoughts that are coming, and the ability to change them one by one. By developing mindfulness or awareness, the ever-present awareness behind all your experiences, you can monitor your encounters, your responses, and how you respond appropriately in order to gain liberation. This helps to see misconceptions, develop emotional intelligence, cope with intense emotions, and gain reward from overcoming these issues. Again, this third component now leads to one common theme here is freedom from things that don't serve you. It's letting go. Freedom to live more intentional. Okay. The freedom to live a more intentional life. You are not limited to narrow mindfulness of the human condition, but you are free in the ever-expansive state of consciousness, where all life unfolds. So it's been a little bit of a lengthy lesson. I thought it'd be good to check in here. Can you think of any past experiences that helped you grow by creating a new skill which you use to this day? Can you recall a situation in your life where you had placed expectations on someone only to realize that they were expectations of your own ideas and standards to which the other person did not share in? How did it make you feel? And how does the idea of projecting expectations equating to disappointments change how you engage with others? Can you think of a type of relationship or situation in your life which at face value appears to be unconditional but actually entails hidden conditions? How does that change your perspective on that type of relationship or situation? And how would you approach it differently in the future? Was there a situation you encountered in which you trusted someone to act or behave in a certain way, but they didn't? Or did so in just for a limited period of time? Were you able to see that the actions which you disapproved of were actions of their own choice? How did it feel projecting an expectation on that person only to see them not follow through? Was it a situation where you should have trusted yourself but didn't? How does this affect the way that you deal with a person or situation now or in the future? Do you have more trust in yourself now to do things differently, or stay keenly aware of any turbulence in that relationship or situation? Are you able to see how trusting yourself in dealing with that person or situation reflects more accountability and less interpersonal distance? Have you experienced a problematic situation where the other person was at fault or things did not go as planned? If you were to analyze the situation and inquire, what role did I play in creating that situation? What did you find with that? Can you identify ideas, concepts, or constructs in your mind that you have in your life that tell yourself that things are more difficult than they should be? What are some beliefs that you have that are self-limiting? Is there a way you can ponder those ideas and eliminate those false beliefs? So, like I mentioned earlier, this has been a long lesson, and this is not even the tip of the iceberg. Understand that some of the obstacles and limitations you see in your world may actually be illusions. And by placing the spotlight of your awareness and contemplation on them, may I actually dissolve the illusions. So, let us go into meditation. Let's do some breathing exercises to oxygenate the blood and release any tensions in the body. I like to begin with a couple really deep breaths. Again, we're not trying to relax to fall asleep. We want to be acute, mentally sharp. Okay, so large inhale. Feel how that breath and that prana charges that body, and release all the things inside that you're holding on to right now. Again. Smile, feel amazing. One more for good luck. Body, mind, revitalized, spirit perceived. After the deep breaths, you go to resume to normal breathing. Now get into a place where you are wholly aware of the body. Calm the mind inside of the body. And the body inside of your room. And your home within your world. Without analyzing anything, see in your mind's eye your whole life, with all the people and places, including all the good times and the bad times, and all their imperfections. Try not to make judgment on them. Just allow everything to be as it is. Then lovingly see all of it as perfectly imperfect. Take some time to really see this. See all of it as perfectly imperfect. Let it all go. Now, with all your awareness, be fully present in the moment and allow yourself to know that everything happened in the way it was supposed to. Everything happened in the way it was supposed to. Even if your mind says it should have been done in a different way, everything happened in the way it was supposed to. Don't analyze it. Just let those biased thoughts go. Let the mind relax and remain in the power of your presence, your being. Everything in your life is where it needs to be. Nothing was a mistake. There were no accidents. Everything is just how it is supposed to be right now. Everything is just how it is supposed to be. All has gone according to plan, right up to this very moment. This is the perfection. Right here, right now. Stay with this. In this present moment, there's nothing to resolve, nothing to undo, nothing to redo. In this present moment, there is nothing to resolve, nothing to undo, nothing to redo. In this present moment is completion. Completion is this present moment. As you see this moment, it is being seen in clear seeing. All the shades have dropped away. Notice the stillness that runs right through your being, deep into the earth and high into the heavens. It is a stillness, silence that is loud as a waterfall. Everything is perfect just as it is. Being fully in this moment is freedom. Freedom from all things. Sit in this. If you are not feeling the freedom in this moment, there are still some beliefs you are holding on to that are binding you to some sort of expectation. Release all expectations. After a while has passed, bring your awareness back to the body and mind, still observing their calm state. take a deep breath, stretch, and on your own time, rise up from your cushion and go on with your day, all while holding on to the insights and freedoms you've gained. Taking your meditation with you. Do so while you remain as an observer of absolute inner stillness, silence, and absolute perfection. You may repeat to yourself during your day, everything is perfect, just as it is. Relax and rest into it. I cannot tell you enough how important this lesson is. This lesson is actually a small distillation of my very detailed meditation lesson on finding perfection. More details on that later. There are a lot of details in here on many levels. Take time to watch this video over a couple times to really get the gist of it. Take your own distillation from it. Again, the words can be can be misinterpreted as the finger pointing toward the moon. But you know how the rest of that story goes. Don't mistake the finger as the moon itself. So practice this daily. The more you do it, the stronger the sense of perfection and inner peace that will well up within you. Not as a thought, but as direct experience. When all that is perceived is perfect, the mind has nothing else to conjure up. This is one more major key to silencing the mind. Allowing things to be exactly the way they are is a major component, not just in meditation, but in life also. Allowing things to be exactly the way they are is an example of emotional chemistry. It is the first step toward gratitude. Feel that gratitude inside and around your chest. Gratitude is the first step to love. Observe how gratitude transmutes into love. And once you find it, once you find love, you can then rest in trust. Trust in the process that life is leading you to your greatest potential. Love and trust of and in the fullness of this present moment, just as it is. That is the doorway to the rest of the universe. Much more on this to come. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for an upcoming video on unseen to the seen. How to recognize how the divine consciousness is already united with yours. How to see your own consciousness is already united with the divine. It's bigger than you think. The divine is closer than you think. This is another step in the direction of liberation. So, if you have any interest in getting private lessons like the one we had today, more detailed, with printable PDFs and detailed videos, visit me at www.dragonflyawakening.com. Julie and I both have lessons that we can give. We also are quantum healing hypnosis practitioners. We also do energy healing, general different modalities, including pranic healing, and all sorts of other cool stuff. So, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this is meaningful to you. Please comment. Is this interesting? Was this helpful? give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, much light, love, and happiness to you always. Did someone say ego? I think you're probably right.